can't operate if their agenda continues to be in secret. I know I'm stating the obvious to our old listeners, but for new listeners, that's why Bilderberg is so important. First, they said it didn't exist for decades. Then they said it doesn't have any power. Now they admit it has power, and they're trying to keep the public back miles away. But our reporters, who we're going to be talking to in about 10 minutes, 12 minutes to be precise, were able to get up to an area on the perimeter where they've put up a fence where they say you get 2 weeks in jail, 500 euro, excuse me, teleprompter free, folks, so I go off memory, euro fine. So great job to the crew getting this. It was so beautiful. I wish I was there looking at the HD video of the mist blowing over the pines and the fir trees and this bizarre pyramid building. Looks like an alien spacecraft that's landed or something. And I mean, it just looks like a science fiction movie. And they're up there, and it's just so gorgeous with the Alps in the background. And then there's surveillance Imperial probe droid snorkels stuck up everywhere, jamming. Because we talked to the locals. Their cell phones, when you get right up the perimeter, don't work. We can't live stream from there. That's jammed. And when you start stepping, because they've got it tuned to where as you start getting near the perimeter, cell phones stop working. And people that go to the hotel, I'll just leave it at that, without giving away sources. Bilderberg's probably really mad right now. Hey, not everybody's cowards, okay? Not everybody's going to roll over to your takeover. And we know they are jamming. So the report's accurate. They are jamming. But the bigger issue is they're scooping all the data up. So let's go ahead and go to this report with our crew, Josh Owens, Rob Dew, and Paul Joseph Watson in Austria, Bilderberg 2015.
Rob Dew here reporting for Infowars.com. We have some breaking news. First off, just over this way, we're going to show you some shots of this. We have a sighting of the Hotel Interalpen. We were able to see the site, and it's along the road going to the golf course. And but that's not the big breaking news. The big breaking news is actually standing behind me. And what it looks like we have here is a communications type van, but not to enable communications, to disable communications. And here with more on that is Paul Joseph Watson, who just landed from Innsbruck today.
That's
Paul,
the Steel Communications.
Good, yeah, we were just talking to an informed local who told us a few other interesting things, but he directly said that this vehicle is basically designed to cut off communications for anybody in the nearby area trying to cover Bilderberg as media. So this could be a transmitter, we're not sure, but we were told directly that this van is being used to cut cell phone signals so people can't broadcast and cover this event. So it's not enough that they have checkpoints 6 miles around the perimeter. Now we can't even cover the event via, standard cell phone coverage because they're directly interfering in people's communications. It's ridiculous.
And I'll tell you this, Paul, the Wi-Fi, we're supposed to have Wi-Fi at the place I'm staying at up on the mountain, and I haven't been able to get anything out of there. Only cell phone signals are the only thing that comes out. So I'm wondering if this has to do with that. There's also an antenna right over there. We'll shoot another long-range shot of that so we can show you what that looks like. It looks like it was pretty recent put up, but that could also be part of this
that's the stingray
triangulation grid that they're setting up to cut off communications.
Yeah, there was speculation during the Bundy Ranch siege that this was happening, that they were cutting off communications. That was never confirmed. We were told directly by a very informed local who said that this is exactly what's happening. So if they have to go to this level to shut down independent media and mainstream press coverage of this event, again, it illustrates how paranoid they are about any information leaking out of Bilderberg 2015.
And I wouldn't be surprised if after we put out this report that suddenly this area becomes off limits, because right now we are free to travel in this area. You can actually see the barrier over here. You're not allowed to go over that way, and there's a barrier on the other side of the road over there, and those are basically, if you step over that line, or if you are caught on the other side of that line, it is a 500 euro fine or 2 weeks in jail, whichever you prefer.
Yeah, and it's obviously quite near the golf course, which is still open. That's outside the perimeter, but people could just wander into that security zone on a whim. You could get families out hiking on the weekend, not aware of what's going on with Bilderberg, and they could just wander in and be subject to a 500 euro fine. It's insane.
Or if you knock your golf ball over into the fine area and that's your last one, hey, I could get my golf ball, and boom, 500 euro fine. Anything could happen. And guess what? Bilderberg is starting tomorrow. The elites will start landing at Innsbruck. They'll be taken here either by car. Some might come by helicopter. Who knows how they're going to be getting here? Henry Kissinger, I think, is coming by teleportation device.
Well, I wouldn't put anything past him. But I mean, this is a big story that, you know, we've been told that this van is there to cut out communications. There's nobody in it at the moment. I'm sure there has been at some point. So this is a major breaking story. Bilderberg directly interfering in communications to prevent coverage of their conference.
Yeah, they're stifling all forms of communication. But what would you expect in the home of Adolf Hitler? I don't know. This is Rob Dew reporting for Infowars.com with Paul Joseph Watson. Here's a shot once again. If anybody out there knows what this is, please tell us in the comments of this video if we're wrong. But we've been told that this is a device, a communications device, to cut off communication to the outside world. Exactly what the elites want. They want to stay in shadows. They don't want to step out in the light and just say, hey, we're here to control you. We're here to control all your money. We want to get rid of cash so we can control everything about your life. They want to keep that hidden from you out there. And that's why we need to see people out there speaking up. We thank everybody for calling the police and letting them know that they cannot stifle journalists here. That really helped us out, so we really do appreciate it. Once again, this is Rob Dew reporting for Infowars.com and Paul Joseph Watson. Thank you.
And we'll be talking to all those guys coming up here in about 6-7 minutes after we go to break. But if you watch the video at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, you'll notice two other towers off in the distance. You can see the booms that they're telescopically hoisted on, and those are trucks or trailers that are out there, guaranteed. We just can't see because the trees are blocking. And those are Stingray systems. May not be from the company Stingray, but popularly known, that's one of the most highly purchased by law enforcement units. Even some small towns, I was reading a few weeks ago, have purchased. One town in California purchased 50 of them. Another town in California, 40 of them. And they're expensive. So now they're just going to have tons of police units without warrants driving around, grabbing everybody's cell phone data and just listening to it. It's illegal for a PI to have it. It's illegal for a citizen to have it, and I can see why. Of course, criminals, these have obviously fallen into the hands of criminals and hackers as well. And I get there's a bad criminal element out there, and sure, I bet you can really catch a lot of criminals and stuff like this. But the government then becomes corrupt having this and ends up framing people, ends up consolidating power every time things like this get turned against the people and the government itself. Look at how Congress is getting spied on by the CIA and the NSA. That's all come out. The British Parliament's being spied on. The German Reichstag, the Bundestag, is being spied on. It's come out. The bureaucracy and the private interest that get their people in control of it, that a corporate takeover of government. And it's mafia. It's not free market. And they want to meet in secret. It is a huge victory, though, that we're forcing it out in the open. I cannot reiterate that enough, that we're forcing TPP out, that we're forcing Bilderberg out, that we're forcing these same players out. I mean, it's Henry Kissinger and David Rockefeller at the bottom of all of this, because they were handed the reins of power in the 50s by the retiring and dying Rockefellers and Rothschilds of that time. That's why everybody grovels to Kissinger and grovels to David Rockefeller. If you look up the 30-plus organizations founded to push the UN, if you look at the organizations founded for the North American Union, every one of them was founded by the Carnegies and Rockefellers. And David Rockefeller, you could go to C-SPAN speeches he's given 25 years ago, 8 years ago, where he gets up there and talks about global government and all the organizations he founded. And I'm just a simple banker, but I'm proud to have founded this organization. And then you go, look, he's founded them all. His family gave him the land the UN's on. So all these billionaires grovel to him because almost the whole world, the system, was chosen and designed by Henry Kissinger and David Rockefeller. For almost 60 years, they've been running the Anglo-American power group. I mean, they're mega powerful. They're like Emperor Palpatine, folks.
We're on the
reports The Delusions of King Barack Obama by John Bound, and laser beams, Boeing's weapons get sci-fi sound effects. Leanne McAdoo looks deeply into that. We have another police officer shot in the back randomly, probably part of the war on local police Soros is financing. That's out of the Houston Chronicle. We're going to be looking at that attempt The officer is not dead, but is in the hospital. That's at least good news, because they want to kill a bunch of cops and get the cops all militarized, folks. It's the plan. People out there cheering stuff like this are idiots. Once a civil war starts, it's not going to be a joke. Scientists in a major report say lack of good gut bacteria could be giving you cancer. We're going to look at that. We're going to look at Rupert Murdoch preparing to step down as CEO from 21st Century Fox. Egyptian police arrest U.S. embassy worker on terror charges. Yeah, the Obama administration is running al-Qaeda and the Muslim Brotherhood inside of Egypt. That's come out in an Egyptian court. We already knew that, but it's really crazy that our government would be funding the enemies of our allies to put horrible people in charge to destroy one of the most populous countries, well, the most populous country in the Middle East. You talk about a powder keg situation. This is dangerous. Coming up, Paul Ryan, Pelosi-esque moment, says it's declassified. Speaking of TPP, says it's declassified and made public. Then they will release it to the public. So there you go. It's declassified and made public when it's agreed to. So you can read it after we pass it. And we know it gives Obama dictatorial power over everything, and that's now coming out as WikiLeaks releases another piece of the puzzle. Now, again, joining us from Austria is Paul Joseph Watson, Rob Dew, and Josh Owens. Major new developments since we talked to them 21 hours ago here on the Wednesday edition. Bilderberg 2015, the very top, the paramount area of global power structure. The 150 members, they say it's 130. There's usually 15, 20 extra secret attendees, sit on top of all the major corporate boards, government boards, military boards, and then have their minions under them carrying out money laundering, snuff films, weapons contracts, illegal deals, arms sales to dictators. I mean, you name it, they're involved. Just pick anybody. They're involved at the top of Bilderberg, and they're just involved in every nastiness, whether it's Hillary Clinton or Henry Kissinger or David Rockefeller. It only gets worse. And again, these are the people that went to the scientific technological elite that Eisenhower warned of in '61 in his farewell address as Kennedy was coming in, and decided to go with this eugenics plan. The computers, the checkpoints, the cell phones, the control grids, they've all... Brzezinski in 1976 wrote a book breaking it all down, the Technotronic Era. I remember being like 9 years old, and my dad said, when you get old enough, son, you need to read this. And I was like, what's the book about? He goes, well, the government brings in the drugs so they can control organized crime. And the government launders the money, and they're going to put in computers that control everything and track everyone. It's going to be just like Brave New World. And then later, when I was about, 11 or 12, I read the Brzezinski book. Didn't understand much of it, but it seemed wild. Do you understand? I mean, he wrote books that they put Khmer Rouge in to kill a third of the Cambodian population. They write books bragging about their evil. That's who's at this meeting. And they set all this up. I mean, they are smart. They are powerful. There's a reason people worth $100 billion go to Bilderberg and grovel to them. You know, Bill Gates is gone, all of them. Because these guys built our world. I mean, they're the ones that are turning our world into a nightmare. That's why they're important. Every major UN property given to them by these people. All the corporate boards set up by these people. Since at least the late 50s. David Rockefeller, Zbigniew Brzezinski, and Henry Kissinger, along with George Shultz and a few others, have run the entire country, and thus the Western world. And they have set it all up. And they don't want you to know about it. They don't want you to discuss it as they prepare to merge the three global unions into one superstate under 10 subregions. Where did I read that? I remember being in Sunday school, and they talked about the 10 regions, the 10 kings. Either it's all true and happening in prophecy, or the globalists are following it as a blueprint. Either way, it's real. Just like you could say, was science fiction written 100 years ago by Jules Verne, was he psychic or was he just a good guess?